Hey, what's up? It's Valar. Hope everybody's doing awesome. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I really do appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel. We really need the help right now. So thank you very much for that. I'll just leave it at that. And tomorrow we've got something pretty cool happening. We have double chances to pull legendaries out of sacred shards. You're guaranteed to get an epic, so that part doesn't matter. But your boosted chance is going to go to 12% on sacreds because it's a normal 6%. Now you're going to be able to get 12% chance to pull a legendary on sacreds, which will be pretty sweet. I've got 11 sacred shards. I believe that's the most I've ever had, and mostly all of these are just from actually saving up, not pulling them at all from Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss chests. Probably 2 months worth, I want to say. I'm not really sure whenever the last double sacred we had was. But that's actually the sacred shards I have saved up. So pretty fun. Today's video, what I want to do is look at my 10 most wanted legendaries. And before I get into that, join me on the Discord in the link below. Just join, come in there. What the hell, have some fun. And also, join me there if you want to send me a direct message and you want me to pull your shards for you. So let me know. So let's go ahead. Let's go into the 10 most wanted legendaries. Excuse me, I went to the wrong thing. Index that I want. And pretty much all of these are going to be top tier. So you could even call this a list of 10 of the best legendaries in the game. But that's actually what I want. I'm missing a couple that I wouldn't mind having either, but this is my most wanted wish list. So without further ado, first on the list would be our wonderful Martyr. Martyr would be freaking amazing to get. She's pretty much in the top 2-3 heroes in the game. She's got a decreased defense on her A1, which is pretty good. She's got the also increased defense and counterattack buff on everybody, including herself, for 3 turns. So the whole team gets counterattack and places it on herself too. And then it's AoE that places a decreased attack debuff for 2 turns, which you can book down to a 4-turn cooldown. Also places a provoke, so you can use her in other situations where she's quite a good tank. And then she has the defense in all battles by 33%. So hopefully I get my girl Martyr. I would be so happy. The only thing that would make me even more happy is to get my number 1, who has been elusive to me for forever. You can go back and look at my whiskey summons chasing her, which I didn't get her. But the Valkyrie is my top most wanted. I'll go nuts if I get her. So attacks one enemy 2 times, decreases turn meter by 10% on each hit if the target has any buffs. And then AoE replaces a shield buff and the counterattack buff. So the shield buff's actually for 3 turns, and the value of the shield and the damage inflicted is proportional to her defense. And she has super high, ridiculously high defense. It's probably one of the highest defenses in the game. And then this whole thing with the turn meter here. And then she has ally defense and faction crypts. But that's her main thing, is the shield, the counterattack. Plus, I mean, who doesn't like that right there, right? No. Anyway, so Valkyrie is actually my top number 1 most wanted. But I'm just kind of going in order of faction here. Next one I would really like to get, actually, I have decreased attack heroes, but I would love to have an Altan. I do think Altan's super cool. He's got the decreased attack on his A1. You can book up to a 75% chance. He's got this ability that places increased defense. It's an attack. So when it does the attack, it actually places the increased defense on everyone for 2 turns. And it's a 3-turn cooldown. It's not just placing it. So he does both the increased defense and decreased attack in one kit, which is really good. Then ally defense in all battles by 33%. And then he has this stuff, revive a random ally with 30% HP every time he kills an enemy. So that part's not going to be good in Clan Boss, but it'll be good in several dungeons, things like that too, or even possibly Arena. So I would love to have an Altan. I would be super excited if I got Altan. There is some honorable mentions in Ogren Tribes, but they're not in my top 10 right now. Ignatius and Biggin, I wouldn't mind getting them, but the next one up is one everybody and their brother wants, and pretty much this list is stuff everybody wants. But Dracomorph would be, just pure heaven if I got this ugly bastard. So let's see. This attacks one enemy. Damage increases by 10% for each debuff on the target. Will attack one random enemy with any surplus damage if the target is killed. Damage inflicted is equal to triple the surplus damage. That's pretty wild. Attacks 4 times at random, and each hit has a chance to place a 5% poison debuff for 3 turns, which you can book to a 3-turn cooldown. So he will just constantly be placing poisons all the time. And then the other thing that's amazing is he booked this to a 3-turn cooldown. He's one of the 2 heroes in the game that I believe does AoE. Actually, I think there's 3, but Spiders is not as good. But this guy places weaken and decrease defense on all enemies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. And you can just pop it off and get more damage and everything too. So he would be great. Dracomorph would be so refreshing for me to get. Anyway, the next one I actually kind of want to get, and he's in my top 10 here, is Longbeard. So Longbeard is actually pretty cool. I've always thought Longbeard was pretty cool. He's got, he ignores shield and block damage buffs, so that part's cool on his A1. I'd like to use him in Arena too. I got some different thoughts in my head where I'd use him in Arena. So he does place a weaken on his A2 as well, which is on a 2-turn cooldown, so that's kind of nice. And then this is the cool ability on a 4-turn cooldown where he brings the entire team, if you're in a clan boss or dungeon fight, attacks one enemy with 4 allies and increases the damage inflicted by allies by 20%. So you can bring a bunch of hard hitters in there, and then that have multi-hits, and hopefully just start spamming the heck out of giant slayers and things and getting a bunch of extra damage too. And then this ally crit rate in dungeons. So Longbeard's actually in my top 10. I'd love to get a Longbeard. The next other ones are actually, there's no orcs that are even worth mentioning. Demon Spawn. This guy would be sick to get, actually. Prince Kaimar's more flamey looking brother. This guy actually is pretty sick, this kid. I love it. Attacks one enemy, heals this champion by 20% of the damage inflicted. Heals this champion by 50% of the damage inflicted instead if the target's under HP burn. And then he has an AoE that does HP burn for 3 turns. You can book up to 100% chance, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown. So he will constantly be placing HP burns. And then he places Ally Protect on all allies except him. But he also places a 60% increased defense on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. So he's got this, which is like J-Reg's ability, but it's better because it's on a 3-turn cooldown versus a 4-turn cooldown. And then the decreased damage inflicted by enemies under HP burn debuffs. So it decreases if you're using him in Clan Boss. With the Clan Boss's damage will be to you. And then he has an HP universal 25% aura. So it would be really cool to use Tyrant. He's actually in my top 10. And then Duchess Lilith is also in my top 10. So Duchess is amazing. She's got this 2-hitter, places a shield equal to 10% of her HP for 2 turns. And the ally with the lowest HP. But she does this increased attack and block debuffs on all allies, and then places Perfect Veil on all allies except her. And then revives all dead allies with 70% HP, places Veil on all allies except for this champion, and then does continuous heal on everybody. And then decreases the damage taken by all allies from AoE attacks by 25% or 15% for bosses, and a universal speed order at 19%. She's just one of the most amazing supports in the game. It would be really, really cool to have her. Now, we got to go on to Undead. So I'm not to my final 3 here. In Undead, we have Bad Alcazar. So I pretty much put the top of the cream of the crop of legendaries in here, which I do not have the cream of the crop. A lot of other people do. I've actually pulled a heck of a lot less shards than I do, but I have not had the luck of having the super god tier stuff besides Vizier, which is amazing. But Vizier is specific to really one area of the game. Bad Al I could use all over the place, which would be really cool. His AoE that heals this champion and all allies by 20% of the damage inflicted. He cleanses on a 3-turn cooldown, so removes all debuffs, places continuous heal, and then places 5% poisons for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. That's a lot of things going on in one ability, and it's amazing. And then all allies inflict 15% more damage against targets under poison debuffs, and this is whatever, crit rate in all battles by 25%. But getting Bad Al would be just, I'd be flipping out. I'd be great. I'd be happy as anything. Now, since he got buffed, he is actually in my top 10. I would love to actually get me a Mashaled. So Mashaled attacks one enemy, heals his champion by 30% of the damage inflicted, and will then attack enemies under leech debuffs. He places a 30% increased speed and 30% increased damage buff on all allies for 2 turns, and True Fear and a leech buff on all enemies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. So really cool there. And then he's got this 1-hitter at 80% chance of stealing all buffs before attacking, and then places heal reduction, and also places 2 continuous heal buffs for 3 turns. and damage is increased by 50% against targets with no buffs. On a 3-turn cooldown, he has a heck of a lot going on now, and he hits super hard. And ally attack in dungeons by 34%. That is actually pretty cool. So Mashaled would be actually in my top 10. And my final one, it was between these two, and I think I'd prefer Longbeard actually over Manicus the Chosen. Just personal preference is all that it is. And that's it, really. And then Ray would be the finaling out my top 10. So Ray actually has the AoE that does decreased defense on our A1, which is pretty cool. AoE that inflicts 50% more damage with targets that have any debuffs, and then an AoE that removes all buffs. So she strips, right? She's a buff stripper. And then 50% chance, which you can book up to 70% chance of placing a freeze for 1 turn. That's a pretty damn cool ability. And then a speed in dungeons by 33%. So if I got any of these 10 legendaries, I would actually be super happy. I really don't want to get too greedy, but I would love to get 2 of the 10 in here. And I really would be just perfectly fine if it's Bad Elf, Valkyrie, Martyr. Any of those 3 would just like make my friggin' next 3 months in raid. So that's actually going to be it. Again, do me a favor, hit me up on Discord if you want to pull the shards. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much for all the support. I really appreciate it. I'll be back soon, about 24 hours from now, with 12 shards to pull because I get my monthly sacred tomorrow. So I'll have 12 sacred shards to pull. Cheers.